So one thing I must say, so thank you. It's a pleasure to be here back at IISc after a long time. I was very surprised to see that most of the experiences that Ramesh was talking about we could relate to. So that means that probably we all are going through similar stuff. My talk is organized a little differently. So I just have one slide on what we did, just to give you a mindset, or just to justify to you that it's worth listening to me. And then I have 5 prescriptions, okay? So I'm not trying to give you full context for everything. So this is what we did. We started in 2000, May 1st, 2000, so completed 19 years, the 20th year now. 3 of us founded the company, but really, we were very lucky to have Deshpande. He just called me once from the US and said, we met him, and then he gave a $5 million check and said, do a telecom startup. So we're very, very lucky. Then he hired Sanjay and Arnab independently. So it's very good that we had a very good banker, very good, I would not say more banker, very good chairman, very good, evangelist who guided us throughout. We had near-death experiences. Well, 2008, we were roaring. We had like 50% growth every year from the beginning. We were ready to file for IPO. We had Goldman Sachs signed up. This is, let's say, 8th year. Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. We had to abandon the IPO. Okay, so that was not near death. We said, all right, we just raised 25 million from Goldman. It's fine. We're doing very well. 2009, Nortel filed for bankruptcy. Nortel was our biggest customer who used to sell our products worldwide, under their label. Nortel, their peak year did 30 million, which was like 50% of our revenues. Then we thought, okay, we'll do well in India, home market. In 2011-12, there was all this 2G scam. Our biggest customers suddenly said no more capex. Their money was tied up in spectrum or lack of revenue, whatever. We went down crashing from 2 years of 600 plus crores to 200 crores. Okay, and then if you have a big body or a big set of employees burning money, and then we had severe cash flow constraints as well. So we recovered from all of that 5 years later, and we did an IPO in 2017. We raised, till then we had raised 100 million in venture funding. And in the IPO we raised another 100 million, okay. And I used to say this was the first deep tech technology product company, but I don't want anybody saying, no, XYZ was a company. So I just, one of the few companies which went IPO in India, but I think we were the first. So last year we did 877 crores in revenue. It's public. We have 750 people. We are profitable. So that's the journey. I distilled all the learnings into 5 prescriptions. Okay, so mantras on capital, R&D, market, product management, and sales. And a lot of this comes from talking to several people who are in various stages of starting their companies or in various stages in their own companies, and sort of what are the common problems many people face. I could relate to all of these, but I'll more give you the end result than the story. So one is capital. Now, in our sector, we needed a lot of capital. Okay, so we raised 100 million. Venture, not IPO, then another 100 million IPO. So your sector where you're working may have a lot of capital requirement. Bootstrapping is not an option in many, many cases. In services, it's an option. In products, it's not an option, especially if you're making, like we're making a box that sells for thousands of dollars. Then you need, millions of dollars just in investment to testing, development, a lot of manpower, salaries, manpower is very expensive. Bangalore is not a cheap place anymore. Even real estate is expensive. We moved from opposite West End, Kanija Bhavan to JP Nagar and finally to Electronic City because we wanted to keep the rent reasonable. When the rent goes to 50 rupees a square foot, we move. So that has been the mantra. So it's cost. So my advice, first advice is raise money whenever you can. Okay, I have seen many startups not raising money because of fear of dilution. Founders say, well, we own 75% of the company, we raised initial capital for 25%. If I raise more money now, I will dilute. Let me wait till the prototype succeeds. Let me wait till I get the first customer. You need a lot of money. So it's better to raise money whenever you can. If not, you'll be forced to raise it when it's very urgent. A lot of it is our own learning, but I don't want to go through, we did round 2 here, round 3 there, and so on. So my first foremost advice is you need to survive. For that, you need capital. You must have money for 18 months, especially when you've built up a team. So raise money whenever you can. On any pretext, raise money. Second, people ask, are there when we started, the question was, can you build hardware in India? We're going to build a telecom product with hardware, software, everything. Bangalore in 2000 was software companies, services companies, right? So is there capability? So I want to assure you there's every kind of capability in Bangalore. The world builds its products in Bangalore. So embedded hardware, software, embedded software, hardware, chip design, anything you want. In fact, so far, RF, if you're building wireless, so far I have not found anything, any talent for which we had to employ people outside India. Engineering services, MNC labs are a good source to hire from. So some of you, might be starting out of college, some of you may be starting with experience. And this is an issue because you find that, okay, you could hire people from college, from freshers to, in your development team, it costs less, but our experience has been the first 75 people we had from Tejas were all experienced with 5-10 years plus. Okay, so when you're doing things, when you want to do things well, get it right the first time and so on, you must have a lot of gurus, who have done all this before. You can't make too many mistakes. You're already taking risk on, product, sector, features, and so on. So at least you want to make sure whatever you do works. So you get experienced people. They can groom freshers, but starting with largely freshers. This is a debate we have. There's constantly. We should build a pyramid. There's a lot of lower cost people and so on. But you might have to think against that thing. Second, I think Ramesh touched upon this a lot. You should know your market well, and the market should be accessible to you. If your primary market is the US, go build the company in the US. Okay, you're not going to be able to address a US or European market sitting here. You may have a back-end development team, but that usually comes when you scale. So if you're building here, build for a market that is here because you have to constantly interact with customers. You have to keep changing your product. Otherwise, you won't succeed. So far off market, somebody is telling you what the features are, won't work. And especially for deep tech, if you start from a lab here, you have an idea which came from your own mind. I don't know what some of those mind-body discussions were, but if you conceive this, sitting in your office in IISc, you probably missed a lot of features that you should have on your product. So go talk to at least 10 customers before you design the product. This is very, very important because what you think will work with customers may be totally off. And secondly, usually whatever you think you can do, you can address a large market, but you need variation 1, variation 2, 3, blah, blah. It's capable of doing lots of things, but don't spread yourself thin. Okay, so pick one application which is the best suited, and you have to think hard on what this is and develop a complete solution for this target segment, right? So I can give you examples, but that may not. Mostly, I'm hoping that you will relate to this in your own company. But on the other hand, you can't be too niche either. So picking this market, because Ramesh also talked about raising money. So the investors look for, 3 things, and this I learned from my friend Vasan, who is a CTO in one of the venture funds. Team, TAM, and timing. Okay, so you must have a good team. You must have a TAM is addressable market, target addressable market, total addressable market. So you must have a large enough addressable market, and of course the timing should be right. For some reason, this is the time to do something. So you must choose a large market. So spend a lot of time on this, not what your technology can do, but what is the market that you're addressing, what's the application that you're addressing, is it accessible, do your customers agree that this is something, they've not thought of it, but do they agree that this is something that will work for them, and is it a large enough market that you can build a business? If it's not large enough, you can't build a business. The fourth one is you must have product management and marketing. So we did not have it for 4 years in Tejas. So we built a product, we sold it. We were up to 300-400 crores in revenue. Okay, then we went down and so on. And then, but we were saying, the customer said, you had this feature on the first rev, you don't have it in rev 2. What happened? Then I asked my team. So they told me, gently, you moron, you don't have product marketing in this company, product management. So I said, okay. So you said this, so you have experience in this, or you are the product manager. So we instituted product management after 4 years, and then I also had to learn the distinction between product management and product marketing. So product management I realized is missing in our company. So you decide what product to build, you take upfront risks, and you have to manage the life cycle. Initially, you don't worry about end of life of product, but it soon hits you because products, technology keeps changing, you need new revisions of the product, but customers have bought the product, you need to support. So managing this life cycle becomes important. There are features you introduced which one customer is using, it has to be on the next row of the product, otherwise you lose that customer. So managing all this, you have to manage cost, features, time to market, managing releases. You want the product out for one customer, in 6 months, but then, the product is not perfect. Do you let it go? Do you, do the next row? There was some discussion of that also in the Q&A. All this requires somebody doing this full time. It's not the guys developing the product. So you better invest in product management. And then you have to position this, you have to help the sales team to sell this product. It has to be positioned, there have to be brochures, your website has to be right, you have to understand competition, you have to understand pricing, you can't give away the product, you can't price it so high that it can't sell. So these are all distinct functions and they're nothing to do with developing the product, so you better pay attention to it. Last, and most technology entrepreneurs think that you build a product, it is such a world-beating product that you just have to hire some salespeople and they should be able to sell it. And if they can't sell it, it's the problem with the sales, not with the product. Okay. Let me tell you, please change your mindset. All that any good sales team will do for you is open the doors, get the meeting for you. Okay, and that you can't do by yourself. I'm assuming I'm addressing, the tech entrepreneurs here, founders. You guys are going to be leading your companies. The founders and even senior R&D team should be involved in closing the business. We've realized over many years that we can't rely on a sales team to close the big business. It has to be the founders, senior R&D team, which goes and closes the business. And it's not like when I say senior R&D team, it can't be developing the product, Monday to Wednesday and meeting customers Thursday, Friday, right? So you need really a strong team of people who are as good as the R&D team, technology evangelists, who work closely with customers, okay? So who know the product in and out, who work with customers on their solution needs, technology needs, who are updated on technology trends. So in my company, we have people who know what's happening in 5G, who are in the 3GPP meetings. The customer wants to know what's next, and he doesn't even attend the 3GPP meetings. So they update the customer on the technology trends, they update the internal team, they also know the product, and then in the process they sell. They help the sales team. I mean, you must have a sales team because there are things like pricing and customer relationships and so on, but you can't say, here is the product, sales team, go sell it. Okay, that has not worked for us, and I think it doesn't work very well in deep tech. 2 minutes, last slide. So building such a deep tech company is challenging. I think there are fewer competitors in this space than services and so on. So the answer to services is, it came to us in the initial days, in the first 3-4 years. It has never occurred to us in the last 15 years, and we said no, we don't want to do this. Okay, and the reason does not have to be economics. It's just that it's not fun, and so you just want to have fun. So that's a good enough reason. So if you build a product, you build something tangible with technology, IPR, and so on. I think there are a lot of opportunities, and I'm eager to know what the 50-60 of you here are doing in IoT and so on. The market environment is changing, so you can't build something and sell for 20 years, 2 years. Actually, when the product ships, you ought to be thinking this is obsolete and there's a next generation of product coming. So there's a thrill that it's never done. Finally, and this is my best advice, Tejas is successful not because we did everything right. It's just a matter of luck. And I want to tell this to you. I mean, I think Taleb wrote a good book saying, you pick 1,000 CEOs, you have to make 10 decisions, and one of them is going to make the right decision. So there's the 10% chance of making a right decision or something. So finally, one of the 1,000 is successful after 10 years, and it has nothing to do with anything but luck. So whether you succeed or fail is, I would say, the number one factor is luck. And then after you succeeded, you can of course say you did all these things right and so on. So my advice to you is enjoy the journey. If you fail, it's not because of anything you did. If you succeed also, it's not because something you did right, it's a matter of luck. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Kumar. 1 or 2 questions, please.
So, Desh, who funded us, said, do something in telco. I asked him, what is this? This is the reverse. Should you have a product idea and everything? He says, you are in IISc. you don't even know the real market. So I just trust you'll come up with the right idea. Talk to customers, define your product. So we started in May. October, I wrote the product definition. So what we ended up building was the next generation of SONET, which is optical networking with Ethernet interface and so on. So it was not bad.
Question here? Yeah.
How did you manage to get your first few customers?
Okay, so we had a lot of funding. Our first customers was Tata Power, which was setting up an optical fiber network on one strand of fiber, one pair of fiber that they had in their power network. So we paired up with another of Desh's company, Sycamore. They sold the core, we sold the access, and we had built the next generation of access. So it requires a lot of work that prescription may not work for you, so I didn't get in, but you have to work very hard at getting the first customer. By the way, change your product to meet the first customer's needs. So one of my team members and CEOs of the customer, he called and said, look, our product does X and Y, and he wants W and Z. So I said, yes, we'll do W and Z. Just tell him yes and come back. Okay, so we designed the product.
Thanks a lot, Kumar. So small memento.